Screening as part of the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival is a film documentary called The People's Princess. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the director of that film, Cody Richmond. Cody, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Hi, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, I'm very intrigued by this film. What was your intention behind making it?
So, around when Trump won the 2024 election in the US, I was just honestly, like a lot of people here, I was just very, and around the world, I was very scared and just worried for the future of what was going to happen. And so I wanted to make a film that kind of explored the moment, what that felt like, what the political climate in general feels like. But there were so many angles to tell that story because that's such a broad topic. And I realized that telling the story through the lens of the Luigi Mangione situation, where you have this wealthy young guy murdering a healthcare CEO, it kind of represented what's going on right now in this weird way between how the people reacted to it and how they were saying, well, we have this healthcare CEO who, helps in denying people healthcare, which costs lives. And there's a lot of people that feel very strongly about that. And then you have politicians who view Luigi as the supervillain, but yet politicians are also doing horrific stuff every single day. And there's this weird double standard that I thought I could explore that and kind of show the way that politicians view violence and the way that America views violence in a way.
That is very interesting because I was a bit unsure about what your message was, and I got the feeling that you were justifying killing.
No, and I make sure try to say this in the film. I say I don't want to live in a world where someone murdering somebody on the street is justified. I don't want to live in that world, but unfortunately, we live in this very honestly competitive world where you have these higher powers, these billionaires, where they create these scenarios where, as we see with Brian Thompson, he was somebody who with a privatized healthcare system, it allows for more denials that creates more profit for these billionaires, and more denials means more people, don't get healthcare, and that could cost lives. And so I think that a lot of people are justified in saying, like, I don't agree with that, but also I don't think murder is justified whatsoever. And I try to show within the movie how people, politicians especially, view the murder of a young girl, let's say in Gaza, differently than how they view a billionaire. I think there's a disparity there, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. No, look, I do understand, and I can see what you're saying. I was just a bit unsure about how people are going to see the message and interpret it. But I suppose that's what makes a good documentary is leaving things for the viewer or the audience to decide. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, one of my inspirations with this film was the documentary Michael Moore. He makes very controversial films,
Yeah.
and he makes and what I wanted to do was kind of just force the audience to sit with some of the footage, especially with the sequence that explores Gaza. And because a lot of these things, people try to shy away from it, and I wanted to just have the audience sit within it and feel it, feel the weight of it.
So, okay, now you've mentioned the Gaza footage and so on. What were you hoping the audience would take away from that?
I was hoping the audience felt the anger and sadness that I feel when I watch that footage, and the way that the US and other countries have responded to that, and the fact that we've continued to support it, and we've continued to kind of, in a lot of ways, turn a blind eye to it. I mean, the UN has called it a genocide. A lot of other countries have called it that, but we've still continued to send arms to Israel, and have continued that, even though there's clear evidence of really horrible war crimes being committed. And I just wanted people to be as angry as I am about it. As I wake up every morning seeing more and more footage come through, I just wanted to and put people in it. Like I said before, I just wanted people to experience it and feel what it must feel like to be there.
Of course, look, any documentary can take a particular view. I
Mhm.
was just wondering about how selective you are in terms of what you decided to show and to film and the archival footage, because there's no mention of Hamas and about how they also committed crimes, major crimes of killing hundreds of Israelis, for example. So
Mhm.
you do take a particular stance by the looks of it.
Yeah, sure. I going in, I knew that that was a risk, and that honestly was something when submitting to film festivals, especially here in the US, that I was like, I may not get selected to a bunch. The reason why I did that, it was a very purposeful choice. It wasn't just because I wanted to just show a very narrow view. What I wanted to do was the narrative I feel, especially within news media, especially in the US, is very, and not that I feel like people should bring up what happened on October 7th and what happened with Hamas. I think it's very, but the thing is, the narratives that we tend to see is very pro-Israel, pro-Israel. At least that's how it feels in the US. So I wanted to create something that wasn't that shed a light on the other side of it, which is and yeah, the other side of it that I feel as though doesn't get shown as much, at least within American media.
Okay, all right. Interesting to hear that. Tell me, why did you call the film The People's Princess?
The reason why I called it that is because early in an early cut of the film, there was more of a focus on like how the internet reacted to Luigi, and one of the names they called him was the People's Princess. So
Ah,
I just thought, you know what, that name it just stuck, and I was like, that's an interesting name. So I wasn't sure what to call the film, and so when that I arrived at that, I was like, okay, I'll keep it. I'll keep it that as the title.
ah, okay. Because obviously when I saw the title, I thought, this is going to be a particular story, and it turned out to be, of course, something else. But no, that's perfectly fine. How much production support, etc., did you have behind you in making this film?
I honestly didn't have much. I had funds that I've gathered myself just from my own job. I, as seen in the credits of the film, I wore many hats when
Yeah.
making this movie. I kind of just did this myself, which was once again another risk. It was kind of the first time I've done a film before like this, and I just wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to see if I could do, and also, tell a narrative and just get this movie out there. And I just feel so strongly about the stuff that's in the film and passionate about it. And I just wanted to get my message out there and see if I could do it. And the fact that I was able to get in to some film festivals, including Melbourne, it was absolutely, I couldn't believe it. So I'm just incredibly honored about that. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. No, that's fair enough. Um, I'm also intrigued with the editing process because I think it's about 21 minutes the documentary, or I might have got the figures wrong. Anyway, it's a short documentary. How did you decide which footage to include and what to delete in the final cut?
That took a long time. As you know, you've been doing many of these interviews, documentaries are really, really hard to edit. And since I had never done it before, it was really a crash course in figuring all of that out. Um, but what I knew was just I had written a script, and the script to the final cut is so different. And it was just kind of about seeing what the right narrative through lines were and the kinds of like the kind of story that I wanted to tell, because what I realized in the making of it was the movie is not just about Luigi and not just about that situation that happened. It's more so about American political violence in general. And so I was like, so that there's a section in the film that I talk about gun violence, for example. That
Mm.
wasn't in the original script, but it was just something that I found along the way that was that fit. And I knew, and I had a hard time even with the ending of the film because I I didn't know how to end a story that hasn't ended. It's still going.
Mm.
It's ongoing right now. And so I tried to put that in there, this feeling of I don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. So yeah, the editing process was very interesting because there was a longer cut that involved more about Luigi, but I realized the movie was more so about Luigi as a symbol, not necessarily as like a true crime film. It isn't that. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, no, I understand the broader perspective that you take there, and about corporations and about in a sense white supremacy being able to get away with all sorts of things. Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I do understand that. So apart from Melbourne Documentary Film Festival, which is screening it this month, where else has your film been accepted and what responses have you had?
Right now I've gotten into there's two film festivals that are in Los Angeles, and they're types of film festivals that have like the monthly awards and then they'll do the annual awards. So right now I just got accepted into them for best documentary short and a couple other categories as well. Right now they haven't released the monthly awards and the annual awards sort of thing, so I'm not sure exactly where I'm ranked there. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to be responded there yet. Because a lot of the film festivals, honestly, their dates aren't until the fall where they reveal their. So I'm still not sure how this movie is going to be um felt for other people. So yeah.
No. Okay. So you've made some other films. Tell me about some of the other films you've made.
Yeah, I've made a couple other short films, but I mainly written other scripts. For example, one of my scripts for a TV pilot deals with drug addiction. So I like tackling ideas that deal with, social issues and kind of weaving that within fiction, which was interesting about this project, which is not, this is nonfiction. So it taught me a lot about just how to tell a story in a different sort of sense, and not just in a fictional way. So yeah.
Okay. Are you planning another film at the moment?
I'm writing a couple other scripts right now that are fictional. They're not documentary, but I have other ideas for documentaries that I do want to make that are political ones as well. So I'm very interested in that topic, and because there's so much to talk about. So yeah.
Mm. No, no, fair enough. I understand. All right. Very interesting to hear all of that. The People's Princess is screening as part of the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival, and we've been speaking to the director, Cody Richmond. Cody, thanks for talking with me, and I wish you well with your future projects.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Pleasure. All the best. Bye bye.
Bye.